Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of the Interview with Scientists series. Today we have Nidhi Parekh joining us from the United Kingdom. Nidhi is the founder and lead researcher of the Shared Microscope. She completed her BSc in biomedicine and then graduated with a diploma in law. She has been working in the legal field for almost 3 years before coming back to science. Today we will talk with Nidhi about her research journey, Scicomm, the Shared Microscope, and the Scicomm Club. Thank you, Nidhi, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, honestly. Thank you.
Pleasure. So let us start by asking you this question about your research career and why did you decide to move to pursue a career in law?
So I've not taken a straightforward approach in anything in my career, to be honest, even with sciences, even with the law.
Yeah.
So when I was doing my bachelor's degree, I interned at a couple of laboratories, two laboratories, to be honest, and found it's not really for me. And I don't mean it in a I mean, research is difficult, and I understand that. For me, the problem was it was very uncertain. Like, I couldn't predict what my day would be like, regardless.
Yes.
And even with a research project, you can't predict your results. You can't predict where it's going. And
Yes.
personally, I don't do well with uncertainty, which I found out during my internships.
Yes.
Um, so I figured, you know what, I need to look through and see if there's anything else that I can do.
Okay.
And then while I was doing my internships, I was also studying quite a bit, reading mainly about just law in general. And I really liked the way, or at that point, I liked how it was, it was certain but uncertain, and it was a play on words, and I loved the idea of a play on words. Um, I mean, you watch Suits, and you're thinking, oh, okay, they were just vague about their idea, and
Hmm.
that was a whole case, and that
Okay.
was interesting to me.
Yeah.
So while I was interning, I decided that I was going to keep reading about the law and
Okay.
what it is, how it is, and
Yeah.
then it came about final year, and I started attending law lectures, even though I wasn't a law student. As soon as you know somebody within law who was doing the same things, I was
Yeah.
like, maybe I'm just going to join your classes, see what it's like.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it. Then decided I'll go through and do the GDL,
Okay.
which is what I did, which is the graduate diploma in law,
Okay.
with the idea to merge the two. So
Yeah.
I wanted to do a little bit of science and a little bit of law. I wanted it to be a mix. So
Okay.
something like patent law or intellectual property, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, did the graduate diploma in law and then started working as a paralegal
Uh-huh.
um, at a top UK firm.
Yeah.
So I worked as an occupational disease paralegal. So that included, a lot of medical stuff as well as legal stuff. So it was a
Yeah.
good mix.
Yeah.
And then I stuck with that for about 2 years.
Okay. So what made you come back to science after pursuing a degree in law and after 3 years?
Well, so while I was working at this
Yeah.
law firm,
Yeah.
a lot of my work was, looking through medical reports and just medical files for people that were suing other people. So I used to work defendant, and
Okay.
I would see a lot of like claimants problems. So, for example, I've had clients that started smoking at the age of 6.
Yeah.
At the age of 6, and I was like, okay, what
Mm.
what are we missing? There's something right there that we're missing if a
Yes.
6-year-old is smoking a cigarette. Then we had there was somebody, I can't remember what they were suing for. I can't remember who they were suing either.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of their case was so while I was reading their medical records, it was something like, "Oh, doctor, I don't understand. My blood sugar is so high." And the doctor's like, "Well, what have you eaten? What did you drink?" Like, "Well, I had 2 coffees, but I made sure I didn't put any sugar in it." Doctor's like, "Okay, did you eat anything? Did you drink anything? What did you do?"
Yeah.
Hmm, I didn't have any cake either. I didn't have anything sugary. I know I have diabetes, so I know how to control my sugar. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, yeah, of course you do. Turns out the guy had 2 pints of alcohol just before he visited the doctor. So it was 2 pints of beer. And the doctor was like, this is where the issue is. You've had some beer. This is where your sugar's coming in from. And the man was just absolutely surprised that beer has sugar, or
Mm-hmm.
that whiskey has sugar, or any alcohol has sugar. They're like, well, it wasn't sweet. I didn't add any sugar. So surely there wasn't any sugar. And then you keep seeing issues like that. You keep seeing questions that
Yes.
that clients at that point or patients were raising.
Yeah.
And so I noticed, very quickly that there was a very big gap in what we know in biomedicine, in medicine, in science, and
Yes.
what the end person, the end user, the end patient would understand.
Yeah.
So I figured, this is something that I want to work on. So at that point, I started my own blog. So that's where the shared microscope comes in. The
Yeah.
whole naming of it, everything was about just explaining and sharing science, sharing what's under the microscope.
Yes.
And it was to be an inclusive environment. So it was a shared microscope. It wasn't yours or mine. It was ours.
Yes.
So I started blogging, and it was fun. And I started blogging, I'd say, in just before the pandemic hit. So in October, just before the pandemic. So what was that? 2019.
Okay.
And then the pandemic hit. And
Yes.
as when it was starting out, there was a whole thing about everybody, even at the law firm, understood my background, and they would always ask, is this something that we should be afraid of, or is it just a flu? Even my boss would be like, "Oh, Nidhi, it's just a flu, just shush." And I was like, "Well, yes, that's what we think, but it's a new pathogen. So even if it is just a flu, and some people would have only
Yes.
flu-like symptoms, it's
Yes.
still a new pathogen, and that explanation was
Yes.
very much required." So that's when I wrote about why, for example, the World Health Organization took time to call the pandemic what it was. They called it a public health emergency of international concern. I think they call it a
Yeah.
FIKE. Um, and there was no information. There was nobody saying, it's a pandemic up
Yes.
until the very end. I wrote this article probably in February, early February, and up
Yeah.
until March they hadn't even said it was a pandemic. So I
Yes.
was like writing articles about why this was and things like that. And then I put it on Reddit just to see what happens. My friend was like, "Oh, maybe try Reddit. People like this kind of stuff." I was
Uh-huh.
like, I don't see why anybody's going to read what I'm writing, because at that point I was interested in it, but I didn't know anybody else who was. I didn't realize science communication as a
Yes.
whole.
Yeah.
So my friend was like, "Just give it a go. You never know." So
Mm-hmm.
okay. Eventually, I had 2,000 people come to my website just from that one post saying, "Okay, this is interesting. This is what we need to know." And then
Yes.
I started writing more about, COVID-19 just generally. So I don't know. I mean, I think we've also done a couple posts together where
Yes.
I was writing about vaccines in
Right.
general, stuff like that. So that's where all of that came from. And that's basically what started me in science communication and science writing in general.
I see.
Um,
So,
yeah.
because your post, if anyone wants to have a look, it's on our website under the COVID-19 tab.
Yes,
So,
also on. I mean,
yeah,
there are a couple also on my website.
yeah,
Sorry if you don't
definitely.
mind. Yeah, so have a look. There's an explainer on all of the top vaccines, like the top COVID-19 vaccines, if you're interested. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they write good stuff, so it should be out for the public.
yes, that's what I think. So
Yeah.
it's out there. So
So
yeah.
that brings to my next question, like, how did you start as a scientific writer? What are your goals in scientific writing, and what do you aim to reach?
Right. So I started science writing as I said because of the
Yes.
pandemic. I mean, I started before it, but the pandemic really just it accelerated the whole thing.
Yes.
So what happened in April was I was put on furlough, which meant I had all the time in the world and nothing to do. Um, so I started writing a little bit more about science, just about the pandemic and the science around the pandemic.
Yes.
So that's how I essentially started. I started as a blog,
Yeah.
and then from there I decided, okay, maybe this could make some money. Then I started putting in more effort, trying to
Yes.
find more science writing gigs, try and figure out what people want to know about. And in case you're wondering, most people want to know about COVID-19 right
Yeah.
now. The questions now are, the questions went from what is it? Is it real? To when are we going to have a vaccine? To now that we have a vaccine, when am I going to get the vaccine? And it's slowly moving to, okay, now we're getting the vaccines. When will
Yes.
I get it? When will this person get it? When will that person get it? And it's now changing into, right, okay, so when does this mean I can go out and hug somebody? When does this mean when does that happen? So the
Yes.
questions, you can see the questions changing.
Yeah.
But I was there from the very beginning, and I think that's what accelerated the whole thing.
Yeah.
Eventually it came to it that I really enjoyed what I was doing. I really like writing about science. I like talking about science. I'm a very talkative person, if you can't tell. So I was like, okay, maybe this is something that I want to do.
Yes.
And I quit my job. I quit my job. And this is what I do full time now. And as for what I want to do further down the line, as in my end goal,
Yes.
so with the shared microscope, which is the blog side of things, I really want to start a clinic.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I want to start a free clinic, most likely going to be in India. And I want it to be in a small village in the middle of nowhere. Talk about menstruation,
Yes.
hygiene, preventative medicine, like just, beware of what you eat, beware of what you do, For example, our community, like Indians and I mean, people of color in general, that includes black people,
Yeah.
and brown people, of course. There's a lot of information out there about, for example, how if we've got, for example, we've got lumps on our breast or, any issues like that, we are the last people to go see a doctor when we know we need to.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna lie, I've found lumps on my breast, and I've waited 6 months to go see a doctor, and I know better. I've studied this. I've done this for almost 5-6 years. I've studied, breast cancer. I've studied cancer. I mean, I was fortunate that when I did go to the doctor, it was nothing of concern, but it still took me 6 months.
Yeah.
And I know the science. So
Yes.
the way I look at it is, if this was me, there are millions of people like me,
Yes.
or worse off than me, who don't even understand something's gone wrong.
Yes.
For me, at least, I could be like, okay, yeah, I feel something, this is weird, I need to go to a doctor. And then I waited 6 months, bad idea, to go to a doctor. Some people don't even realize they need to check,
Yeah.
So with the shared microscope, my end goal is to start like a small clinic, a free clinic,
Yeah.
talk about reproductive health, talk about menstruation.
Mhm.
I would love to speak to Binti. Binti is a period charity.
Okay.
And I want to talk to them, franchise with them maybe, and just basically make a difference in a small area in India, where, well,
Yes.
anywhere in the world, but for me it's India, because I am from
Yeah.
there. I know how it works. So that's what I want to do with the shared microscope. With
Okay.
Scicomm Club,
Yeah.
I want to go down more into science communication, consultancy.
Yes.
I want to be the person that people approach, say if they've got any questions about science communication, Scicomm, science writing, that kind of thing. So I want to build that brand up like that.
Yeah.
But that's my newest baby, and
Okay.
it hasn't
been.
Yeah.
Your thought about waiting for a long time when you develop something, like if you have a fever, okay, I'll just wait it out for a couple of days and then go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And that's what most of the people do. And I really appreciate your idea of starting a free clinic for people.
Yeah, we all do it. I mean, the other day, my dad wasn't keeping too well.
Yep.
And he waited. He almost fainted, and he waited. And he kept waiting. I've done it. I've done it more than once. Me myself.
Yeah.
I've had times where I was absolutely exhausted.
Yes.
Forced myself to do work, and then on the tube, so that's the underground, I fainted. Some random guy had to carry me out of the carriage, and then they had to call A&E, and they had to take an ECG and everything.
Yeah.
I've been there. We all do it. We all ignore little bits and bobs and don't realize that it can be something really serious.
Yeah.
And with most medicine, we keep talking. Every doctor says, with cancer, for example, the sooner we diagnose it, the better. With arthritis, the sooner we diagnose it, the better. With
Yes.
anything medically wrong that can go wrong with you, everybody's like, okay, if we figure it out sooner, we can do better with it.
Yes.
But we don't follow our own advice.
Yes.
And we don't even give that advice properly.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, you've got a fever. Oh, you'll be fine.
Yes.
But sometimes you won't be fine. And that's where I really, really want to make that difference, if nothing else. So, but that's further down the line. That's very much further down the line.
Really a great thought.
Thank you.
So that brings to my next question. Like, as a science writer, how do you approach clients and seal the deal with your clients as a science writer?
So there is no hard and fast way to do it. You will eventually figure out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
And you will learn. You will learn along the way. So for me, the first couple of clients I had, I was guest posting with them. You know, I was like, okay, hey, I see you've got a website. Maybe I can write for you.
Yes.
Like, yeah, okay. You write a couple for free. You write a couple just because you enjoy it. And then somebody or the other on some other website will come to it and be like, oh, okay, we like this writer. Let's try and get in touch with her. So guest posting is a really good way of doing it. And there are so many science communicators who want to do it. Collaboration, very good way to do it as well.
Yes.
There are also websites like Upwork. There's Collabtree. If you're very much into your sciences, I don't know if you've heard of Collabtree.
Yeah.
So Collabtree is basically like Fiverr and Upwork.
Yes.
But for scientists. It's made by scientists for scientists. So if you think about somebody who needs, I don't know, help with some computational biology, which I know nothing about, so I would never do. But if you need something, you know, very specific, very stats heavy, very computational heavy, you will always find a client there. You will always find somebody who needs help there. So Collabtree is a good place to go. What else do I do? I've started pitching more frequently. So I say more frequently. I pitch once a week. Okay. I know people who pitch every single day.
Yeah.
So the idea is, so I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they were really interested in writing about climate change and global warming, and they were like, Nidhi, I don't know where to find clients. I don't know where to find people to write for. I was like, well, what magazines do you read? Well, what do you mean? I was like, you're obviously reading something.
Yes.
You know, you read about, you read the New Scientist, you read the New Yorker, you read the New York Times, you read newspapers, you read stuff by the BBC, whatever you read. Somebody's writing it.
Yes.
You could be the person writing it. So that's where I was like, okay, you know, maybe you can pitch to somebody, you can do something like that. Yes. So that's one thing that I am also trying to do. I haven't done very much of it. I think I've done probably 15 pitches in all my life so far. Another thing to do is email. If there's a company that you like, if you like what they do, email them. Get to know them.
Yes.
One day, when they have work, they will think about you. They'll be like, oh, actually, yeah, Nidhi sent me that email millions of years ago. Maybe I can email her, see if she's available. You know, that's how you can. It's basically collaboration, community, networking. As long as you're doing all of that, you'll be fine. You'll find somebody or the other.
No, that's very important, to build a network, to communicate your ideas, and to pitch.
I think you've done very well with it, to be very honest. You've got an amazing community.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing. Very, very brilliant. Very, very warm. Very, very welcoming. And I think that's what we need more of. So thank you.
Thank you. So can you, because you give a lot of Scicomm workshops, so can you tell us more about your experience giving workshops and lectures related to Scicomm?
So I've given a few lectures and workshops in actually Canada as well as the United States. So it was McMaster University in Canada. And it's interesting, you know, people want to hear more, people want to learn more. There's so many people, you probably see this as well. There's so many people interested in science communication. You know, you understand that with every follower, you understand that with every like, you understand that with every comment. People want to know more. People want to know how to jump in. People want to know how you do it. And I think that's what, with workshops and lectures, it's only people that are interested that will show up. So, or people that are thinking about it that will show up. So it's a very receptive audience, very, very, very good.
Yes.
And I would say if you haven't attended a workshop or if you haven't attended a lecture,
Yes.
go for it. You will find something or the other that's free on
Yes.
Eventbrite.
Yes.
Have a look, see what they do. Eventually, if you want to pay for them, that's absolutely fine as well. But but I think they're a good place to start. And being on the other end, lecturing about it, giving workshops about it.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Very fortunate to have been given that opportunity, to be very honest. So yeah.
I know that feeling of giving lectures and when people come and listen to you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love it. I don't know what it is. It's just that inclusive environment that comes from it. And eventually, if the lecture is such that people feel, people feel like they can ask questions, and that's great. So, like, for example, I did. When was it? It was towards. I think it was in November last year. I gave a lecture about the COVID-19 vaccines. What are they? How do they work? What is the difference between all of them? Questions like, it's where people were like, okay, I keep reading the news. They keep saying, the vaccine is rushed. Is that true? I'm like, well, not really. No, that's not true. They've been accelerated.
Yes.
But that came from efficiency, not because we were cutting corners. So just in case anybody's listening, we did not rush. Nobody's rushed the COVID-19 vaccines. But, that was a place where people could ask questions.
Yes.
And that was good because at the end of the day, they could all go back home and be like, okay, I went to a lecture about this. This is how it works. Because there's so much misinformation out there. I mean, if COVID-19 has taught us anything, it's misinformation and how bad it is. So it is good. It is really, really good. So yeah.
Fact checking is really important right now.
Yes. Research even with fact checking, when you're fact checking, you can probably find information about anything.
Yes.
And there'll be some website or some source that says, oh yeah, we agree with you. So that's where you need to check. When you're fact checking, you need to check where you're fact checking as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I think what has helped, what this pandemic has also highlighted is the fact that we need to empower people not only with good information, but empower them with how to find it.
Yes.
I can go out and give lectures about the COVID-19 vaccines. I can go out and hand out leaflets about the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yes.
But that's only helped that person in terms of the COVID-19 vaccine. It hasn't helped them identify good science from bad science,
Yes.
When we talk about journals, we talk about the impact factor, we talk about, there's a difference in when something's in Nature versus when something's, in any other, I can't remember anything, but, any other, the publications have their own, this is a good publication, we want to post there.
Yes.
And that, we know this within science, but somebody outside of science is not going to know what PubMed is.
Yes.
I mean, I worked in a law firm where we did everything biomedical. We worked occupational disease, so anything about a disease we needed to know about.
Yes.
And I had people come up to me saying, where are you looking for information? I was like, PubMed. They're like, what? It's like, PubMed.
Yeah, people don't know.
They don't understand that. It's a full search engine for us.
Yes.
But we know about it. Somebody who hasn't studied it doesn't.
Yeah. People also don't know about Google Scholar, so.
Yes.
So
the only search bar there is how does this happen?
Yes.
Where, it's Google, Bing, Yahoo, whatever, but it's just a search engine. It's not, this is more advanced. This is more specific to the sciences.
Yes.
And people don't know it. So what we need to do is tell them about this.
Educate the people. That's
Yeah.
So yeah. So can you tell us something about your new initiative? You mentioned something in the beginning, but maybe.
Yes. So Scicomm Club is my newest baby. I do have an Instagram account for it, but if anybody looks at it, it's absolutely empty. It's just there.
Yes.
But Twitter is where I'm focusing mainly right now.
Yes.
So the idea of Scicomm Club is for people who want to do science communication,
Yes.
anybody, come in, join us for a chat. So what I do is I have a chat every Wednesday
Yeah.
at 6 p.m. GMT. So that's about 12 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is in Eastern Time. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But basically, what I do is it's like I would bring in a host, so much like this.
Yes.
But rather than it being on video or audio, it's more
Mhm.
like,
Typing.
come on in, we'll have a chat. There's 5 questions,
Yes.
and then we ask the questions, and then everybody else answers it.
Yes.
So it's just to get that community feeling
Okay.
on Twitter.
Yes.
And what I do every month, so the first week of every month, the first Wednesday of every month, is our open mic.
Yeah.
So it's where anybody, anywhere on the globe can ask a question. I will retweet that question with an answer that I think is right. And anybody else that needs advice can also give advice and take advice.
Yes.
So, for example, the questions that you asked me, how to get into science writing, how to do Scicomm, how to find clients.
Yeah.
You could ask that for my open mic.
Okay.
I will give you an answer
Yes.
based on my experience, but there will also be hundreds of other people there to give you that advice.
Yes.
So it's a place for everybody to get advice, how to do Scicomm. It's like academic chatter, but
Okay.
probably not as big.
Okay.
But more science communication and science writing specific. So it's my newest baby. I'm hoping that it takes a lot better. I mean, it's been quite good. We've got some real good lineups actually we've got lineups up until March, I think, April now. Yeah, so it's quite nice.
Yes.
So I'm just hoping to keep that going.
Yes.
It's 1 hour every day. Every Wednesday. So that's my latest baby. That's my newest baby. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it's going good because I follow you. I mean the Scicomm initiative.
Yeah.
So I know a bit about it.
Oh, you should definitely host for us as well. I'll contact you about this.
Yeah, we can talk about it. So
yeah.
So what do you enjoy apart from Scicomm? What are your hobbies?
I really want to go traveling. This is the only thing that's keeping me sane right now. Like every single day I wake up, because basically with the pandemic, I don't know whether Canada's in lockdown right now.
Yeah.
We're in strict lockdown. We have been since before Christmas.
Okay.
So I've seen nobody in a very long time. I've been within the 4 walls of my room for way too long.
I don't missing.
So the first thing I want to do is travel. And every time I talk to my family, they're like, come home. I'm like, come home. How? How do I do that? Because they're still back home in India. But that's something that I really enjoy doing. Other than that, I've been nerding out actually since last week because I signed up to New Scientist, Time Magazine, all these journals and scientific magazines basically. So I've been doing that. Other than that, I'm just reading more about science communication and science writing. Trying to find more clients. That's what I do in my free time now. It's not the most fun thing in the world, but when you go from a job to nothing, you need to do something. So, but yeah, I'm just waiting for the world to open up. That's my hobby now. Waiting for the world to open up. I'm waiting for summer. I'm waiting for summer.
So we have just one question from the audience. Ravant_96 asks, where can you learn more about science, specifically biology?
So I would say look up. It depends on what particular areas of biology you're looking at, because within biology there's so much. I would say find podcasts that you like if you are not into reading. If you are into reading, there are some amazing books out there. I would definitely recommend The Emperor of All Maladies. It's all about cancer, and it's basically a biography about cancer. That's one book I would recommend to anybody. I would say read more from well, the news, that's a good place. TED Talks, I know a lot of people prefer
Yeah.
that. Um, Instagram, Twitter, honestly, you name it, there's something to learn everywhere.
Yes.
But it depends on the way that you like taking in media. So if you
Yes.
like reading, definitely books. If there's any specific area, you can even read textbooks for fun. I mean, we've all done it. So yeah, I'm sorry, that's the best advice I can give on a very broad
No,
biology topic. But
that's really good advice. Reading, listening, watching is all
yes.
do.
Oh, also, if you're interested in science communication, I would definitely say see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
They're the best people to learn from. You know, you'll learn so quickly how people are working. So, for example, the other day, I found somebody who's actually doing a lot like what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I only learned about them on Wednesday, actually, during the Scicomm club, during the chat. And
Yeah.
somebody came up to me and they were like, oh, I really enjoy what this person is doing. What they essentially did was, I can't remember her name. I know she was in London as well. She studies here.
Okay.
And her entire project is getting people in remote villages in India to
Yes.
learn about the TB vaccine
Oh,
and
wow.
tuberculosis in general. And the way that she does it is she has, like back in the day, we used to have puppet shows.
Yes.
She does puppet shows to
Oh,
explain to people the importance of vaccination and
that's
what tuberculosis is and how to prevent it.
Yeah.
And beautiful work, you learn so much from what other people do. Like when you say you're on Instagram and you see somebody who you like doing science communication, you can see what you like from there. Maybe it's the
Yeah.
colors they use, maybe it's the simplicity of their language.
Yes.
Or sometimes you'll see somebody else's work and you're like, this isn't exactly what appeals to me, but you can identify why it doesn't appeal to you.
Yes.
Make a list of why you like something, why you don't like something,
Yes.
and work according to it. According to that. So, for example, I like simplicity.
Yeah.
So if you go onto my Instagram, for example,
Yes.
it's the design is very simplistic. It's very undertone, not a lot of colors, not
Yeah.
very bright. Oh, and if I may, one tip I would give to every science communication expert or everybody doing Scicomm: make sure you are inclusive.
Yes.
And by that I mean, if you're on Instagram, put alternate text on your images. If you're on Twitter and you use an image, put alternate text on your images.
Yes.
If you're doing like stories quite frequently where people are talking,
Yeah.
if it's not too much to ask, just put in a caption saying exactly what you're saying, because that's so much more inclusive.
Yes.
And that's inclusive to everybody.
Yeah.
Say, for example, like I've had this before. Instagram changed the way that they work, but back in the day,
Yes.
when I was at university, you go onto Instagram and it will just start blaring out really loud music.
Yeah.
There never was a tap function to like make sure it's quiet.
Yes.
So it would just blare out whatever you're saying. But say, for example, if you are in a lecture and you want to see your Instagram,
Yes.
that caption tells me exactly what the person is saying. So I don't have to have my volume up loud.
Yeah.
It's inclusive for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that is definitely one tip that I would give everybody. Be mindful. If you've sat there and illustrated something, and that illustration has taken you 10 hours, put 2 extra minutes to include more people. It is good for SEO as well. If you need another nudge, there you go. That's your nudge.
Yes.
Be inclusive.
Yeah.
Because that 2 extra minutes will make sure that at least 2 million more people can understand that content, can see the content, can be included in that content.
Yes.
So that's one thing. Sorry, it was probably very, very tangent,
but that's very important. You raised a very important point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we would like to thank you for your time today, Nidhi, and for joining.
Thank you for having me
and sharing your valuable knowledge and suggestions regarding scientific writing, Scicomm, and inclusivity as well. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And all of